reported to the class. Bitch, she's so loud and obnoxious. Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you? You're in your office, I see today.
Yes, I'm on Bed Island.
Well, welcome to another episode of How to Do Drugs. I'm your host, Alia Janine, and today I have my comedy wifey, Sovereign Syre.
Hi.
Hi. All the way from Los Angeles. We haven't talked or seen each other in a while. I miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too.
I'm going to be in LA in November 4th, but you're doing Skating Fest, right? You're doing Skating Fest South or whatever.
I'm not sure because I am currently in like a top secret, can't tell anybody development process. So which has been kind of weird because I can't tell anybody about what's going on in my life right
you're
now.
like, I'm just doing cool shit and I can't tell everybody, and everyone's I'm just like, whatever.
I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to be available. So I'm working on something really exciting, but it's like super NDA legal, can't talk about blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of like, it's kind of very weird to be working on something really cool and to not be able to tell you, or like, you know, it's been a very weird process to be kind of completely, not able to tell anyone what's going on in your life for like 6 months is like kind of,
I don't know. I do it all the time. Although when I did it, people thought I was dead. So, they sang songs about me and everything. It was real nice.
Well, you have such an online presence that when it is gone,
people are like, wait, she's dead. Yeah, automatically I'm dead.
You have a very distinct brand.
I'm a cunt. You could say it. I'm a cunt online.
No, it's like feel like going out and like testing the air. And it's like, it's a little less cunty today.
Yeah.
Where is she? Does anyone hear a rattle?
Has anyone pissed anyone off?
Yeah. But so I might not be. Kind of, I don't know what my schedule is going to look like yet. This has been kind of the craziest 6 months of my life because it's like so. The stakes are high.
Well, I get that. Well, that's exciting though. Congratulations. But yeah, once it's out, you'll be able to tell everybody.
Yeah. So
and be able to do it. Well, then I may see you in LA in November. Because I'm doing a cameo in my buddy's movie, and I wanted to do some shows out there, and then myself and Rebecca Rush are going to do some spots in Vegas, and then I want to do like Arizona and then Texas. So I was going to be out there for a little while, but yeah.
Well, then yes, like we will hang out.
Yeah, for sure. I know everyone's like, you should just come to Texas afterwards. I'm like, they're like, it's so close. And I'm like, Texas and California actually are not all that close.
No, that's like, I mean, comics have like, there's a whole joke about that it's like an existential journey to the highway to hell. That journey from Los Angeles to Dallas. I've done it twice, and it's like, it's just nothing. I mean, it's just days of nothing. It's like the environment doesn't change. You're just hurtling towards the end.
Nothingness. Yeah. I've done that drive from Florida to California and back. And then I've done the drive from California to Wisconsin. But that's actually nice because if you go through Colorado and shit, at least you have the mountains or whatever. But when I did it, I had a U-Haul truck with my car attached to it. And I'm doing like, because you know how I drive. So I'm like doing 70, smoking cigarettes, have my dogs in the fucking thing waving to people, just cruising down fucking mountains. I'm like, what's up? That's what happens when your dad was a truck driver.
Yeah, you are a fearless driver.
I really am. Yeah, I'm really good at it. I'm a great driver.
Well, it's either if you're like poor white trash or if you were raised in the third world. Because I was, my ex-boyfriend learned how to drive in the Philippines. And then in Colombia, that guy could drive through anything. He was like, oh no, at least here they're lost.
Right. Yeah. And especially if we start driving young, it's just the way I could definitely drive through like wars and shit like that without a doubt. Have you seen some of the streets in Wisconsin? Holy fuck. I mean, even here in this city, like I was walking across the street and I almost tripped in a pothole on the street. I'm like, oh, that can't be good for like a car suspension at all. Yeah. It's so bad. It's bad. So this wonderful podcast, as you know, is about drugs, and we like drugs. We have done drugs together, which is great. You like to do drugs and be productive, which I always thought was counterproductive to doing drugs. Your productivity, yeah, that's what I mean. Your productivity with drugs.
Yeah.
When was the last time I was in LA? A couple of years ago. I remember you were writing your book or whatever, and you're like just doing bumps, and you're like, I gotta write these pages. I'm like doing bumps. I'm like, do you need something clean? I'm like, what are you doing? This is weird. You're working.
Yeah, I've had to adjust my process because that exploded my relationship. And
really?
so, yeah. So funny how that happened. So yeah, haven't really, I think it's probably been about 3 years since I was really what I would call like a loadie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I was always that way from the time I was from the time I started doing drugs, alcohol and weed never held appeal for me because I'm such like a Wonder Woman. And so I think when I was in high school, discovered meth, it was like, oh my God, like this is perfect. Turns out I have ADD. Turns out
it does help. Yeah, it does actually help. But you're like, why does this stuff help me do stuff? I was like,
why do I feel so calm and at peace with myself and the world? Like, what's going on there? But yeah, like now that I've become like a full-on important adult, I've had to I realized like after that kind of, I think I was sober for a very long time and then was partying a little bit. And then I got in a relationship and never relapsed on meth or anything like that. But like definitely like cocaine became very appealing for the duration of that relationship because I don't know. I think I tended to do that more to keep up with her than anything else. Like I tend to
she was very
yeah. And I think it's like I'm so codependent that like I was like, because as soon as that relationship ended, I was like done with I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I was able to just kind of like walk away from it. Like it wasn't like I was like, oh no, I have a problem I have to deal with. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. The reason I was even doing that is gone. So
yeah. So you think you were just doing it just because she was doing so much of it?
Yeah. And it was like this attempt to kind of be on her level or kind of whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, ironically, it did kind of, because I think we reacted to drugs very differently. So it's like that actually led to me I would just go in my room and write for hours. So it actually ended up creating more distance in that relationship because like how we did drugs was very different. You know what I mean? I never was someone that really did drugs to be social, whether I was doing acid or taking mushrooms, or I found that anytime I was on drugs, when I was really into drugs, like as a teenager into my early 20s, I was always the person that would go off and sit in the corner of the room and just want to have my own experience. And I've been doing a lot of therapy. The last few years. I know. I've been doing a lot of therapy, and hence why I haven't done drugs really since that breakup, because I was like, that was a big moment for me, that kind of I don't know, like you go through a certain number of breakups or breakdowns and you're like, how long am I going to do this?
How many times am I going to date the same person with a different face kind of thing?
Yeah. And so like I have been going to therapy and I've started to recognize a lot of things about like my attachment style and trauma and stuff like that. And what I've come to figure out is that for me, like a lot of things around I always thought I was an anxiously attached person, and it turns out I'm an avoidantly attached person.
I can see
like I don't feel safe around other people. Like I feel like other people are a chore, and it takes a lot of emotional resources for me to navigate them because I'm a people pleaser, which I didn't think I was, because I thought people pleasing meant being nice to people. And I'm not necessarily that. Yeah. But I came to realize that people pleasing is more like when you abandon your own needs when you're dealing with someone that you want to be with in order to like, because you fear that they'll abandon you. So you just kind of don't speak up for yourself, or you kind of say you're okay with shit you're not okay with.
I do a bunch of cocaine.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like it was like, I don't want that in my house. Flash forward a month later, it's always in the house. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, like an inability to like really maintain those boundaries. So, but I found that like, yeah, like when I was doing drugs like mushrooms or acid or like things like that, that are sort of meant to, that kind of open you up and do stuff like that. Those were always experiences I wanted to have by myself. I didn't feel safe having those experiences with anyone else around. It's like, I wanted to go like internal. And I find that I have that experience in a lot of other things too. Like I run a lot. And I realized that part of the reason that I like that activity is because it's the only place that no one can catch me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm in motion. You can't, I'm not available.
Yeah. There's no stopping
like,
me to ask me shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But so for me, yeah, like drugs were always like a very solitary thing. And something where I always went very internal because I'm a very serious person. Like I actually am not very social. It's like,
yeah, you are a very serious person.
Yeah. I think about everything or whatever. But so, yeah, like for me, drugs are always like a weird thing. Like they were, but I think just in general, if something is not productive, I don't want to do it because I'm obsessed with success and achievement and competition.
Yeah. Do you think that has to do with trauma? Why you are a little bit of a perfectionist?
Absolutely. Because I've had it even demonstrated recently that literally my parents' love was contingent on me achieving things. Like if I was not achieving, I did not exist.
Yeah. Cause when did you graduate high school?
Like I was 16 and then 16 when I started college.
Yeah. So you were very young. And why do you think that was? Do you want to talk about your parents?
Yeah. I mean, they were both recovering drug addicts. So, and so they're both very, I just read this book, like Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and it really resonated. It resonated a lot. And yeah, like, I mean, it just had to do with having parents that didn't teach me really basic shit, like how to self-soothe, how to regulate emotions. Like I didn't feel seen or validated because if I was upset or having a hard time, they viewed it as like an indictment against them and they didn't know how to fix it. So they would just deny my reality. You're not upset. You're not hurt. You're not hungry. You're not sad. You're not angry. You're not neglected. So I was taught to distrust my own feelings very early. And that I think is a really devastating thing to go through as a kid. And, it's taken me well into adulthood to be like, still trying to untangle the knot of that, not being able to trust yourself and being told that your intuition is wrong. I mean, it's devastating and it ends up getting you into so much trouble as you try to navigate life as an adult because you know what I mean? Like I got in like my first relationship was so abusive and I didn't know it.
Because you were kind of used to that type of behavior, if it maybe not necessarily physically or whatever, but that feeling of where like you constantly have to prove yourself and that your feelings aren't validated and it's only what they want. Yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think when I discovered meth as like a teenager, I think it was just something that allowed me to kind of power through despite any kind of discomfort. And so that's what made it an appealing high. So I don't think I ever got high. I don't think I ever chased like a euphoric feeling from meth. Like it was always about like productivity and being able to just like power through and get things done despite whatever kind of emotional chaos is going on like in my life. Like I've never related to people that like just want to sit back and get high. It's just like I just recently took a vacation to Tulum and I think it was the first time, and because I've been doing all this therapy, I think it's the first time I've ever been on a vacation where I literally went and sat on the beach and was able to just enjoy the sensation of doing nothing. Because normally as soon as I'm doing nothing, my brain immediately starts sending me these messages like, you're lazy, you haven't done enough, you need to do more, no one loves you, you're a fraud, you're not working hard enough, you don't deserve to enjoy anything, you don't deserve to be happy. That's for other people, like because you're bad. And like I had not been aware that those were messages that were constantly cycling through my brain until the pandemic. Until I was forced to do nothing and had to sit in the discomfort of that feeling for days that led into weeks, that led into months. And about 6 months into the pandemic, I was like, I need to deal with this. Like
you were finally forced to deal with it.
Yeah, because there was no end to it. It was like, you are just going to have to sit in this. So like, what if you can't do the things you want? What if you can't do stand up? What if you can't do you perform? What if you can't go out and like everything that I wanted to do involved performing in front of people and being out in the world. And that is how I measured my success. And if to suddenly be in a position of like, you can do none of that. I had to finally deal with that. I mean, I was able to resist it for like 6 months, and I did a lot of
job,
drinking.
by the way.
I did a lot of drinking in 6 months. And then it was just like, there's this moment when like, there's still a part of my, I think why I never got sucked into addiction, like fully to get abandoned to it is because there's always
or like
this,
as a clutch or something.
Yeah. It's like, because there's always some part of my brain that knows like when to stop, that goes like, this is not sustainable, you know? And I was talking about that on, I did the WTF interview, and we were talking about that. There's always like this moment in addiction where you have this moment where you're like, if I don't stop now, like I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, you either come up to that edge and you go like, all right. And so for me, it was like, I was drinking a lot at the beginning, but so, I mean, everybody was.
Oh God,
so,
girl,
like,
so much.
Yeah. And then I was like, I about 6 months in, I kind of woke up and was like, okay, like this is untenable. Like, this is like,
this is who you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe we should try therapy, like read a book, maybe about, and I think that's the thing is like, I just never stopped to like work on my shit because I felt like I just didn't have time. And
well,
then
I think too, you like to work on other things and use that as like, oh, well, I'm doing this stuff. So that's technically work, even though emotionally and mentally you're still kind of a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I did all that stuff. Like I started doing like that kind of stuff. And so I kind of like cut out everything for a while. And it was really uncomfortable, like to sit in my own skin. It was really fucking uncomfortable. And now, I mean, I'm still like, I don't know. Now I like everything. Like I wish I can't talk about what's happening now.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so fresh. I'm like, and then like things got really good. So sobriety has been good.
Yeah.
I mean, I still drink wine sometimes and stuff like that. I'm not like in AA or something like that, but like taking that moment and kind of assessing all of that stuff and finally like kind of dealing with those things, what like was really helpful in readjusting how I relate to substances for sure. Like when I was on vacation this time, I was with a friend and she was just, you know, she was like wanting to drink and party and do everything the whole time. And that was fine. I was like, yeah, absolutely. But I just noticed that I didn't like, I was like, I did a couple shots of mezcal, like when the people were offering and shit like that. But like, it wasn't like, I was like on a mission. And I just remember
like,
that like, yeah, like
you've never really been like that anyway, though. You've never really been like, you've never been like that ever since I've known you.
Yeah.
I've always been like, bitch, we're drinking. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's kind of wild. Like when I think about it's like, cause I'm like, well, I've never considered myself sober. Like I've always kind of like gotten high here and there. And I like to drink and this and that. But like, I don't know. I just I've never been like a partier though. Like I've never been one to go do those things socially. It's more just like, a solitary loner kind kind of activity. Like I'm gonna get high and go sit in my room and read a book. You know? Like,
I do the opposite where like, if I'm going to drink, like drinking at home alone, like that means you're an alcoholic. So as long as I'm out, you know, at a bar, binge drinking copious amounts of alcohol instead of like having a glass of wine at home. Yeah, I did the opposite.
I've always just been like, oh yeah, like I'm sure I'm fully an alcoholic or this or that. I okay. Like,
yeah.
But like, I don't know. I've just never, I don't know, because those things have never, I can always like pick them up and put them down if the situation requires it. And I've never like, I always had, even when I was on meth and I always had this like rule thing about like, I'm not going to sell my body or my stuff to maintain a habit. I'll never let a habit destroy a relationship, that kind of stuff. And I never did. Like, I, like when it comes down to anything like that, it was like, I can always just be like, okay, well then that's off the table. And so even with my last relationship, it wasn't like, if the drugs don't go, then it wasn't like that. It was just kind of, it was just two people that were really struggling. And I think having kind of tower moments like in their lives that came together and we're like, we're going to help each other. And it's like, help each other all the way to the bottom. Like, and you know, it was like, we helped torpedo each other to a rock bottom. And as far as I know, she's actually doing really well now. And like,
Good.
I'm doing really well. So, you know, I think sometimes, you know,
sometimes you do need to hit rock bottom, and sometimes a certain people where you think that like you want to be with them and you're like, oh, I want to be with this person for the rest of my life, or for, you know, for a substantial amount of time, and then they're in the same type of struggle you are, and then it is that codependent relationship where you feel like, oh, well, we're in this together. It's like sometimes you need to separate, and you end up doing much better apart than you guys thought you were going to do it together, kind of thing. I noticed that with one or two of my relationships where it's like, dude, we're so much better without each other.
Well, I think too, sometimes it's like, you know, sometimes like, I don't know, like, I think anytime that I've really gone on like a bender, because it wasn't like the whole of that relationship. I'd say maybe like the last 6 months, it was like that we needed some serious CPR. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I think it was like somehow like there was this moment when it just became this like bender that just was relentless. But I feel like I
experienced some of that when I was there. I feel
like, I mean, honestly, like when you were there, I mean, it was like you saw that where, I mean, it was like 2 dogs, like 3 people, like it was like, I remember talking to Mark when that was going, like when that breakup happened, and he was like, he's like, I feel like she's trying to drive you crazy. It's like created a scenario where it's like you're drowning and someone's throwing you a baby. It'd be like, and now we need someone to move in, and now we need both dogs. And it was like in this like tiny apartment that it was just like, it was like this powder keg of like shit where it was like bound to explode. But like, I think sometimes when people are going on like drug benders and shit like that, like they're trying to create a fucking tower moment for themselves. Like they're kind of, what's going to happen if I just kind of let myself completely go, you know? And I think, and like, I think a lot of comedians have jokes about that. Like, I don't trust someone that's not willing to fucking, like, I don't trust someone that's never like had a drug problem, because like, I don't trust someone that's never been willing to go right up to the edge of the abyss and like look over. You know what I mean? Like if you haven't had the strength of will to just really see what you're made of. Yeah. You know,
it is hard to trust. It would be like, oh, I feel that if you haven't been afraid of dying, you haven't really lived at all. Like, I think some people need that fear, and some people don't. Some people try it and do it for a while, and then they're just done. Like they don't have to hit rock bottom. I've been talking to a couple of people. One of my buddies, he actually called me. I'm trying to get him on the show, but one of his 3 bosses said that because of the name of the show, it's very strong, as I say multiple times on here. But I'm going to try to get him on. He actually called me. He's a conservative Republican, happens to be the son of one of my former neighbors, and he's a great dude. Like I like him a lot. But he had told me he listened to the podcast. He's like, I would love to do it. I just can't right now because this one boss or whatever. But he's like, in the beginning of next year, he has more like leniency to do what he wants. But he's like, I was listening to your episode with Jim Norton. He's like, I think you should try it, being sober, because I like right now, especially with that quarantine's over and stuff. I still don't go out that much. Like if I have spots and stuff like that, but I'm not doing as many spots as I was. Like I'll go out and then I'll just binge drink because I'm like, oh, I haven't been out in a while. And I'm like, I need to stop doing that. Like I've been fine over the past couple of weeks, but I noticed that I haven't had a drink. Oh no, wait, I had a beer on Tuesday at my Broadway show, but I think I'm going to try, not drinking for the month of September, although it's going to be hard because I'm going to Wisconsin at the end of the month, and you've been to Milwaukee. Yes. So that's going to be, I'm like, I think I could do it though. And that's the thing with me is that I'm not an alcoholic because I don't drink every day. Like I don't need to. It's just when I do go out, I'll binge drink a lot of times, especially more so now after quarantine. Cause like before quarantine, I had like my one day of the week, and sometimes I wouldn't even drink on that day. You know what I mean? And like now, like quarantine really screw that up. Cause I do definitely have like that addict's mentality where it's like, oh, I need more. Like it's so strange with like Coke. I could stop. Like I haven't done Coke in forever. Mushrooms, like I still have so much acid and mushrooms in my freezer right now from quarantine. But those, like, I like micro dosing and doing those on like fun things, like going to see like the Van Gogh thing or something like that. But I am the alcohol, it's the binge drinking for me that I think I need to try to, I miss where I was before, where I could have like one beer and then not need to drink more. And now it's yeah, it's a little bit harder after quarantine. I wonder how many other people are also struggling with that, because everyone drank so much over quarantine and then
I
now
know.
it's
I mean,
like
I'll say this for people listening. I have never been able to do drugs and then not have it be a problem.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I did meth, it became a problem, and then I had to quit, and it was a very dramatic thing, and then was like, didn't do drugs. I mean, maybe did cocaine like 2 or 3 times in like a 10-year period. And then when I got in that last relationship and she brought it into the house and was doing it all the time, and I started doing it with her, like it became something like a daily thing for a few months. And then that like imploded, and then she left, and it was like, okay, like I can't do that anymore. And like, now I would never do it again, you know, because,
Yeah.
and I had that revelation where I was like, well, that was a fun experiment, but here's the deal. You cannot do drugs casually. Like it is a problem for you.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I look at it like I was like wild in my youth. I had the meth problem, and like quit was like the only thing I ever did was drink after that. And then when I got in that last relationship and that came into the house, it was immediately a problem again. Luckily, it didn't take 7 years of my life this time. Like, luckily, it took like 3 months. But like, it taught me like, well, that was your, in case you were curious.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't do it the way other people can do it. Like so I'm glad that it didn't take it being like a ruining my life kind of fucking event. I'm glad I was able to like go like, well, nope, we're good. Yeah. Drinking for me has like never been, you know, I've never driven drunk. I've never It's like, I don't know. It's just alcohol was never like my thing. Like it was never like my drug of choice or whatever. It's like, because, you know, like I like to drink wine at night to like go to sleep. And like, that's
about it.
Yeah. Like that's kind of
like alcohol's never really been like my drug of choice either. Like cocaine has always been like one of my favorites, but I think like I like acid more than Coke. Like I rather go tripping one day than do a bunch of Coke.
I mean, acid's one of those things, but I think for me now, like shrooms and acid, and I've heard about ketamine and like I've thought about maybe trying a ketamine drip at like a doctor for depression stuff. Yeah. But like I'm kind of at this place in life and at my age and everything else where I'm kind of like, I guess I'll just remember how cool it was when I was 16 doing that shit, and just live in the memory of how fun that was back in the day. But I think also like now it's with this thing going on, I think I've it turns out that a majority of my mental health issues were immediately resolved by money and success. Yeah. Overnight. It was amazing. Suddenly the need to do so now when I hear these stories of like celebrities that are like, and then I like got the gig and this like I was like on this TV show and it's like, and I was successful and I still wasn't happy. And I'm like, don't know her. Do not know her. Do not understand. Nope. Yeah. Cause like I have like this cool shit going on and I was just like, like I feel great. I have literally no curiosity or desire to see any of that. I don't have time. There's also a thing of like time. It's like, how much time do I have left to kind of like go into this? You know what I mean? But I think that's the same reason why I could never be a casual drug user, because I couldn't do drugs without feeling, I guess what Catholics call the fear. Yeah. It's like this kind of immediate sense of guilt. Like, what are you doing? You're fucking up your life. This is bad. This is wrong. Yeah. Cause that other voice is predominant in your head where you're like, this is awesome. And we definitely need to do this. And and then it's like at the same, and it's like, so I could like people that can just like go to Burning Man for a weekend and
Yeah.
do
Or
all
even
kinds of
smoke
crazy
cigarettes
shit and then go
casually.
home and be like, that was cool. I'm like, I don't know what that's like.
I can't do that. It's like people who just casually smoke when they have a drink. Like, I wish I could be a smoker like that. Like that has,
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to have a smoke, but no, I constantly smoke. So it's like, if I quit smoking, like I can't just have one puff. So it is very
Did
similar.
you quit? Or are you back?
Oh,
on
cigarettes? Oh, hell no. I still smoke. I like smoking. I'm quitting everything else. Okay. Let me have my goddamn cigarettes for right now. I probably like, I do have apps and stuff like that. So it is on the list of things to do. Of quitting right now. I'm working on the drinking thing to see if I can do that whole not drink for a month thing. Cause it is one of those things like once you're in, because when I'm at home, I'm fine. Like I have bottles of fucking wine. Like I don't drink at home, but it's like when I go out, I'll be like, oh, I'm not drinking. And then someone will either offer me a drink or I'll walk up to the bar and they'll like just hand me the glass of wine that I always order. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm drinking. So it's like, I need to, and it is one of those things where it's like, I have to tell people, oh, this is going out. I have to tell people that, yo, I'm drinking tonight. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. And some people look at me weird. I've noticed now, especially being older and especially with a lot of comics who are sober, like if I say I'm not drinking now, they're like, oh, okay. But like they totally go, why does this keep going out? Why does this keep happening? I've been having the worst technical luck over the past 2 episodes for some reason. It's like I think my equipment's possessed. Like I set it up and then I don't touch it. And then it will do something. Okay, it's fine now. Where the fuck was I? Oh, with the drinking and stuff. So yeah, so I think for September, and it's going to be a test going back to Wisconsin to see if I can not drink. But some of my, a couple of my really close friends, like they're not drinking as much anymore. Like, and some of them still work in bars and stuff. That's another thing too. A lot of my friends back home, they all own bars or work in bars. So it's impossible for them to like really stay sober. So one of my friends who still is a bartender, like him staying sober is like, it's really like, I'm really proud of him because that's got to be, there's no way I could stay sober working in a bar. I don't think.
I mean, I find for me too, it's just different stuff. It's like, I can't drink and do stand up. Like I can't drink and perform.
Mm-hmm.
I can't drink and then write. I can't drink and then, so it's like, for me, it's really only something I can do if I'm like about to go to bed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, for me, it's also like, just when I have shit going on in my life where it's like, right now I'm under a deadline. Like I'm writing every day for 10 to 12 hours. Like I can't drink and write because it makes me too tired. It makes me sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me make mistakes. The stakes are too high right now to make mistakes. Like,
yeah.
So I just can't. And it doesn't bother me because I'm focused on like what I'm doing, or if I'm doing stand-up, it's like I got to drive around everywhere. I have to drive to several different bars, so I can't drink in each place because I'm not going to drink and drive. And then I don't like to be tipsy before I perform. I think I did that once with you at like the New York Comedy Festival, and it was like I went up one time where I was loaded, like I'd had like 4 or 5 drinks, and it was like I didn't do, and I just like I was like, oh yeah, I don't horrible.
You know, yeah, I don't like to perform really drunk. Like I always have like a 1 glass limit. Like if I am drinking before a set, like it's normally like I won't drink more than 1. If I'm hosting sometimes, like I'll have the 1 and they'll be like, okay, like I have a limit when I'm performing. It'd be like, because you can't be super sloshed unless it's like
you can't. And that's why it's like an understanding comes like I had to drink to like have the nerves to get up there. And I'm like, if I'm drunk and I get up there, like I'm not going to remember my material.
I already have a hard time remembering.
Yeah, I'm just like so for me it was like the opposite. I'm just like, or like do feel like I'm doing coke, and I was like I can't do anything that's gonna, because like when if I drink or if I've done cocaine or anything like that, like my personality changes and I become very like self-conscious and kind of like hyper self-aware, and that kind of takes me out. It actually makes me more nervous and less social. It's like I don't want to be seen in a way where in any way like I'm impaired. It's like I'm embarrassed, which also might be part of why if I ever, like when I was doing drugs, I would always want to be by myself, is because I didn't want people to see me being vulnerable or
being messed up.
It was like embarrassing, like, oh
Yeah. Oh no, there's definitely been things I should be embarrassed of for sure.
Well, I mean, it's like, I'm embarrassing enough on my own, you know what I mean?
And then you add the drunk factor or whatever. A lot of times too, people are always like, oh, they were drunk. It's like, is that really a good enough excuse though? Because it is, they always say that but like the things that you say when you're drunk happen to be more truthful than you are when you're sober, because you don't have that filter. You're more open and whatnot. It's like, oh, so is this who I really am, this drunk person? Just very happy and loud. Because when I'm sober, like I'm quite, like I'm still loud. I'm just loud in general, but I tend to be more reserved. I'm definitely more bitchy,
Yeah.
towards people I don't know, especially towards strangers. I'm never really nice to strangers, because stranger danger. But when I'm drunk, I'm like, hey, what's up? Unless they touch me, and then that's
Yeah. Then I've watched that happen.
or touch one of my friends.
Yeah. I mean, like out here in California, and you're saying like with comedians and stuff like that, like so many people are sober that it's kind of like, I think that it used to be this really cool, tragic thing, like, oh, the Richard Pryors and you know what I mean? Like there was this kind of like really romanticizing like that addiction and the struggle
Yeah.
of that.
Well, a lot of
And
people too thought they'd be like, oh, you need to go through this to be really good at
yeah,
comedy. It's like, well,
yeah.
that's just like those people's experiences. There's also tons of other types of experiences,
Well, it's
that,
also, but like also it's tragic and romantic if you're Richard Pryor.
yeah.
Like they forget the part where you have to be good first. Like when people romanticize drug addiction or suicide, and it's like, oh, but like Kurt Cobain or Prince or this, it's like, but it was Kurt Cobain. Like, are you Kurt Cobain first?
Yeah.
Like, are you a genius first? Because no one's gonna miss you or think it's romantic if you're not like of that caliber. So
Yeah,
maybe
like
work
if
on
you
being
didn't
that
create
caliber.
something, yeah.
Well, my whole, like the philosophy I have for myself is like, before you can lose yourself to addiction or depression, you have to like be a genius and really successful. So I have to do that first. And then if I get there and I
And then
still
you get to be
feel like,
crazy.
and if I still feel like abandoning myself to addiction, it's totally okay. But I have a feeling that once I'm really successful, I'll probably just want to enjoy myself,
Yeah, because I'm the same way. I've noticed too. As long as I have enough money and like work, I am fine. Like mentally, I'm happy. I don't need to drink like cocaine. I'm like, whatever. So yeah, definitely money. Money has always. I'm not sure. Maybe it's that's just because like we were both raised poor white trash kind of thing.
Yeah.
With my mom always trying to be like, we're middle class. It's like, no, bitch. You sell marijuana still. uh kind of thing. So I think that maybe that has a big factor too on how we were raised, that like money, because it's a form of security, and like
Yeah.
having that type of security. It's like even when you're in a relationship, even though it may be a really toxic relationship, there is a sense of security there because you're with another person, they're experiencing the same things. So money is the same way, where it's like, oh, I can afford rent, I can afford food, I can afford to like go out to dinner or like help this person out. There is that money does provide, unfortunately, that sense of security that does really affect a lot of people's mental health, especially now with, I guess, unemployment for, a lot of like civilians and stuff that went out on Labor Day of all. It's like good timing, Grandpa Joe.
Yeah.
With
I
that.
mean, it's like as you're talking, I just keep thinking like, I'm really happy right now, and everything my life has changed so dramatically in 6 months. And one of the things the thoughts I had in Tulum was that like, I don't think I've ever been happy and thought that any drugs or alcohol would make me feel better or enhance it. The only time I've ever wanted drugs or alcohol was when I was feeling something really uncomfortable, or I was trying to like pass the time. Like I was full of apathy or boredom,
Yeah.
or I was hurting. I've never been really happy and been like, what would make this better? Cocaine.
Yeah.
Or, what would make this better? Wine. I've never,
Yeah.
it's just never happened. And
Yeah,
I realized that too. Like when I, like, that if I say for a couple nights in a row, I'm drinking a couple glasses of wine, or let's say I start dating someone and I'm like over at their house and staying the night and stuff, I'm never thinking about like, oh, I need a glass of wine. It's like, I'm like, when I feel stimulated and happy, like none of those things are like,
you really don't need it. Yeah. And you don't really think about it. Like if I'm out having a good time, you don't need, like, I don't need that extra thing. There was, obviously when you're younger though, too, where it's like, oh, let's go. Like most of the activities that I did were always surrounded about getting drunk or getting fucked up. But like everything that we do, like, oh, I'm going to go see the Van Gogh thing. I'm like, I want to do that on acid. I mean, sober would be fun too, but I'm like, I still love acid. So I'm like,
well, I mean, I think there's like, I mean, there's one thing about like when you're a kid and you're experimenting, like there are experiences I had on drugs that obviously were like really fucking awesome and philosophical and like learning about like these different states of being and how you feel and all of that stuff. But like, I think as you get into like once you get into your 30s, it's like those aren't the fucking transformative experiences you're fucking having. You know what I mean? Like, what time it is. And like, you know what I mean? Like I think, so it's not to say that like, it's all bad. It's more just like, I think there's a period of time for that kind of growth and exploration. And like, and like, cause I even have like weird things about like people that do the ayahuasca stuff where I'm just like, is that really about spirituality or is it
for
just
some
like,
people, I think it can be.
And like, I guess I like, and that's why I think, like I think society's relationship to drugs is just so skewed. It's like, it's surrounded in shame and judgment and like, because they are dangerous in a way, because it really depends on who's walking into the room and doing them and kind of why they're doing them and like what's going on in all of that, and then like the tragedy that happened this week, like I was wondering if we were going to talk about that, but like, I guess I want to,
no,
like I saw that and I really feel for Kate because I can't imagine you go to someone's house, you do some lines, and then you wake up in the hospital and all of your friends are dead.
Yeah, that has to be fucking terrifying.
I can't imagine what she's fighting for her life. And it's like, I just can't imagine what that must feel like. And that like, she's got like, my first thought was like, her life is like changed forever now. And like, that is going to be a huge, I mean, it's a tragedy for the people that died, but also just,
there's that survivor's guilt and stuff like that. And when it comes, and especially when it comes to partying, it's like, is she going to get in trouble? Like charged with the murders or the deaths, because sometimes if she supplied the drugs, like, I don't know the whole story. So obviously this is all speculation or whatever, or theories, but it is very true that like people have been charged, and they're just like, and they may not even do it that much. It's just be like, oh, weekend, one of my friends is in town, they have some coke, we're going to do some coke, all of a sudden it's laced with fentanyl, and then everyone's fucking dead and that person is going to jail, for a thing that they do maybe once a year. But then again, there's the people that do it a lot too.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like that happened. And I just, what really struck me was like people's reaction to it. And like, there was so much there going on there. Because there was like so much judgment, and then everyone's like, don't be judgmental, have these test strips and have Narcan. And I was just going, like, if we're at the point where in order to do drugs, you need to have test strips and you need to have Narcan on you, like, maybe we're at a place where like, this isn't harmless anymore. Like, this isn't about recreation anymore.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Like, that like, and this sort of expectation, it just made me think about like comedy and entertainment in general and Los Angeles and party culture, and
especially in LA. Holy shit.
I mean, it's like, because there's all these people like making jokes and all this stuff, and a lot of these people, I was like, you guys all do it. This could be any of you. Like,
Oh no, yeah,
literally.
the jokes that I have, I'm like, my dealer, he's fucking texting me. He's like, oh, he's like, don't worry, I got all the test strips. And I'm like, I think I'm okay for a while. And like
Yeah,
sometimes just
like,
and then William K. Or Michael K. Williams also passed away. They said they found drug paraphernalia in his apartment. I don't know if it was due to drugs or whatever, but yeah, just people are literally dying from just trying to have a good time. But also, do you think, let's get conspiracy theory, do you think that with how much fentanyl is out, do you think that the government has anything to do with that?
I
Because
don't, I,
because a lot of dealers I know, like, they're not going to want to kill off their clientele, you know what I mean? That's counterproductive, that's the word of the day, to making money, to me at least the ones I know.
I mean, that like, I haven't really, because it like, I mean, I haven't done drugs in so long. It's like, it's
Mhm.
not really my world anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, it's not something really, I've really sat and thought about. It's like, when I
Mhm.
started hearing about fentanyl, like, my first thought was like, just under the wire. Like,
Right, yeah.
good thing I had my little relapse like 3 years ago, and like
Mhm.
was able, you know what I mean? Like, because I was like, like, I was certainly not the kind of user that would be bringing test strips to the party,
Oh,
you
see,
know.
I am I'm buying a bunch of people the little test strips for Christmas presents.
But like, I mean, I think that, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what it tells me is that, that there are a lot more people that have an opioid addiction than a coke addiction. And
Oh,
so, like, if it's,
100%, yeah.
so it's like if they're killing off a few coke people, whatever, like, because the fentanyl's there because it's adulterated, like, they're it's synthetic opioids and shit like
Yeah.
that. Like, um I don't know, what I know is that it's not worth dying over, you
Yeah.
know.
The
I know
parties and
that,
we're
like,
dying
I
over.
know that it's fucking tragic. And for me, the weird thing was, a couple years ago there was a new porn girl, Violet Rain, I think was her name.
She's the
And
one who passed away, right?
she was like at a club and did some coke in a bathroom and went into a
Mhm.
coma, and then was in a coma for like a week, and then the family had to take her off life support. And I mean, it was just very tragic. I think she was like
Mhm.
19 or 20 years old. And I
Jeez.
remember like that happening, and it just seemed so fucking tragic. And then
Mhm.
going to her Twitter page and seeing that she followed me,
Oh.
like, on Twitter. And I remember just thinking like this thing where I was just like, for some reason that really like hit me in the stomach for some reason. Like, it just was
Mhm.
like, um, and that was when I was just kind of like, I think that, like, I was already like sober again. Like, I was already hadn't been doing drugs, but that kind of like for me was just like the nail in the coffin for any of it for me anymore. I was like,
Mhm.
that's just like, you know what I mean? Like, like that, like, I don't know what we're all chasing. I don't know what we're all after,
Mhm.
but like, I know that it's not that,
Yeah.
and like, Kate's in a fucking hospital bed right now. And it's like, I know that that's not what we are after when we walk into, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
My thing
yeah.
is more just
When
like,
we
it
go
makes
to
me
do
think about
that.
like the end game, and like,
Mhm.
that clearly we all have like a spiritual sickness that like needs to be addressed. Like,
Mhm.
that's what it makes me feel like,
Yeah.
that people are taking this level of risk, um, to abandon themselves or to get out of their own skin.
Mhm.
And I think that we are all probably in a lot of spiritual trouble, and we need to address it,
Yeah, spiritual, and
like,
I think mental, just living in this country in general, because we've always been
yeah,
told that it's the greatest country in the world, and then we look at how other countries are, and we're like, we're not actually at all. We're actually real kind of shitty for being, a first world country, especially supposed to be one of the richest. We have, we don't have healthcare. There's other countries where drugs are legal, and you can send them in and get tested, and there's like the drug problems are minuscule. They teach like proper sex health, sex ed and stuff like that, where pregnancies are low and no one's getting abortions because they have access to all this stuff. We're here in the United States, we're fighting, fighting with fucking Texas, for just human fucking rights. And like we're constantly and just race equality and all this stuff. Our country is very depressed. And then we have this quarantine, and then we have these people running the country, and you add all of that on top of just trying to survive, like people with minimum wage jobs having to work like 3 jobs just to stay, just to pay rent, in New York City. And it's just all of this stuff. And yeah, so drug use and drug addiction and deaths from drugs is definitely higher here than it is in multiple other places. It's because we're depressed. America is very depressed and nobody wants to admit it.
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole culture. Like, cause what I've noticed is like, once I retired from porn and like didn't have to be on social media to be constantly promoting like my OnlyFans or whatever, like I didn't really want to be on there. And in the last 6 months, like as I got on this project, I don't have a desire to be there. And it made me realize how much of my time spent on social media was about not necessarily just like numbing out, but it was about like escaping into this fantasy world where I could be anything I wanted to be. And where I could imagine that I was like, because I'm followed by certain celebrities, or because I'm chatting with this group of comedians or that group of comics on Instagram or on Twitter, that I'm part of some kind of club, and that it's not necessarily commensurate to my achievements or what I'm doing. And that this obsession with celebrity that's everywhere, and everyone wants to live like, and this is like all cliche stuff I'm talking about, that sort of like compare and despair. But like, when you like coming, that in America, it's like this obsession with celebrity, with grind culture, with hustle culture, like trying to be an influencer. Everyone's trying to make it. And like this addiction to social media and YouTube, and you see it in hookup culture and people that are like, when I'm on TikTok, and like I'm on there a lot because for this project, it's like a lot of stuff around like relationships and things like that. And it's like, men and women have been like radicalized against each other, and people are so desperately lonely and unhappy, but they can't get off the dating apps, but like ghosting and like narcissistic abuse and like all of this stuff, like what I've
instant gratification. People are looking for instant, and they got to have it. And then they need more. It's like we constantly need more.
Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of like that. It's like Brave New World more than everyone said it was going to be 1984, but it's like Brave New World is a much more accurate depiction of where we're at. And it's that whole thing of like sort of that Roger Waters, like amusing ourselves to death, and what I see is that it's like everyone's just trying to escape rather than deal with where we're at and trying to fix it, because it just feels kind of insurmountable. And I
it's
think,
like, how do we fix all of this? And fast, and we want to fix it so fast. It's like, that's not, unfortunately, how it works. But yeah, there is, and it needs to start, like, does it start from the top? Do we fix the top? Or I think, a lot of it has to do with a society. Like, we need to push the top, to get these things that will make us all better, but they are drowning us with social media. I mean, people could think like that and think that it's like a conspiracy theory, but it's like, is it really a theory, a conspiracy if we're living it, to a certain extent?
Well, it is late stage capitalism at its finest. And like one of the things you have to do is create a culture that values capitalism and above all else. I mean, like that's like capitalism and materialism, like, and so like that we're in a culture that has elevated being a billionaire or being a celebrity like to the moon, and being a good person or in a loving relationship or having stable family relationships and like contributing to like your community is like considered a weakness.
Boring. Yeah.
And it's like, so, and the thing is like, not everyone can be famous or a billionaire. So then you have people that are living these, like, they have a family and kids and they go to work every day and they're doing this or that, and they just feel fucking invisible. you know,
pointless, worthless.
Yeah. It's like they're so devalued by the culture, and they're being told constantly that their lives are boring.
Yeah.
And
like,
whatever.
oh, you don't own a yacht? What do you mean you don't own a yacht?
And makes them feel like they're really missing out, you know. Like,
and so drugs is a great escape for that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, like your husband and kids are great, but are you on a yacht? But do you have abs?
Yeah.
But do you have this? Like, and it's instead of going like, wow, you have like a marriage and kids, like, congratulations on your fucking miracle.
Right. For the fact that you guys
know what I mean?
married, like, holy shit.
Yeah, like, oh my God, did you like finish something you started and have stable relationships and people that care about you? Like, you're a fucking Mozart. I'm sorry. That's just hard.
Right.
I've been trying my whole life. I've like, you know what I mean? Like that's just hard.
That's
like
so
finishing
hard.
the things you start. Jesus Christ.
Oh, let's not talk about that with our ADHD. Girl, the number of projects I started, I still have balls that I was going to teach myself how to juggle. I have a rolled out piano that I bought over quarantine because I'm like, I have long fingers. I took it out of the box once.
I mean, like for me, the big thing I went through in quarantine was like sitting back and asking myself like what I really wanted and like what all of that stuff was about. Why do I have 5 podcasts? Why am I doing stand-up? Like I really sat back and asked myself to really answer like what all of it was about. Like, I'm like, is this about having attention?
Yeah.
Is this about
the Mari Candy or whatever her name is? Does this bring you joy? Oh, I totally did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I realized is that like a lot of it was, you know, that Mitch Hedberg joke, like, oh, you're a farmer, can you cook? That like we're kind of in this culture where it's like, I'm a writer, but in order to leverage writing into something that made money, I had to do it in all of these roundabout ways. So, okay, I'll have a podcast or a YouTube show, or I'll go do stand-up, like, because these are ways to monetize writing. And that everything was around like monetizing it and building your brand and all of this stuff. And I just woke up one day and I was like, fuck it. Like, I can't do this. I'm going to do it the old fashioned way. I'm going to go apply for writing jobs. And then I fucking got some.
Yeah.
And then that led to something else. And that's led to now to a project that I'm working on that has completely changed my life, like overnight. And all of that I was able to do moving in complete silence. I didn't get any of that through my social media following, through my podcasting or anything else.
You did it yourself.
I got it from like doing the thing I wanted to do, finding the job I wanted, asking for that job, and then going in that job and leveraging it up to something else.
What? That sounds crazy.
But here's the thing is we're joking, but so many people have bought into this fantasy that
it's like you do all this other stuff and this is going to get you the job that you want.
That, like,
when I went to school to be a cop, I was the same kind of thing. I wanted to do forensic science. I'm like, oh, I should learn how to be a cop because I saw it on the show where the cops and the forensic scientists always fight. And I'm like, I don't want them to fight. So I want to learn all that stuff. So yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah. And but I think we're also in this culture where it's like people really believe this thing of like, okay, you go like viral online and then you have money.
Yeah. How many times have we gone viral? Like even if we just look at the number of views that we have on our Pornhub page, it's like if I had $1 for every single view I had, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
but
that's the thing is it's like, but like social media companies, like they want you to be invested in that mythos because it keeps you online. And like the biggest life lesson I got through this project I'm working on is that is rarely how it works at all.
Yeah.
You know, and that the people that are working behind the scenes and just like moving in silence are the people that are like making the real money and making the real power moves. And that like, it's a myth that to get signed or to get popular or any of this stuff, you have to go viral or whatever. More often than not, what happens is you're really good at the thing and then the powers that be like give you a job and then they create a brand for you. And they put you out on social media and they make sure you go viral. So people was like, oh, so-and-so's an industry plant. Anyone that you've ever heard of or that's gone viral was an industry plant.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Sorry, TikTokers.
I mean, but seriously, like that, there might be very occasional outliers, but like, you know, anyone that you like, oh, they're branding or this or that. It's like, that was done with the help of A&R and other stuff. That was not, you know, like that person was already talented in doing the thing they were talented at, and then got signed or got in at this place. And then together, like, because, and I've learned this through the project I'm working on, in order to do the work to get the thing that changed my life, I did not have time to be online branding myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just like it, like they're like, you can't do both.
Yeah.
And like, maybe some people can, but the thing that I've learned is like, you can't be good at the thing you're doing and really successful at branding it at the same time. Because in order to do it online and be as engaged as you have to be, like there's no time. Yeah. Because the people that have gotten really successful with the online stuff, if you go look at the way they engage with their audience, it's like they're literally engaging with their fan base like 24/7. Like I'm talking about the people that have really blown up online, that have millions of followers on Instagram and shit like that. What they're good at is not comedy or this or that. What they're good at is engagement. Yeah. And they're charismatic. Yeah. And like literally the content they make is meant to be disposable. They are not creating content that is meant to like last.
They're just giving people the attention that they want from someone that they think is famous or an influencer.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they're literally creating a parasocial dynamic. Like that is what they're good at. Yeah. You know, and that's different from being a creative. And I'm not saying it's not a valuable skill. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah. I'm not good at the interacting.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean, the thing is, it's like, and that's what breaks my heart is seeing creatives that get derailed and get sidetracked, like being told that they have to go do this thing well, that is not what they do. You know, and like in their efforts to be good at that thing, which is not what they do, they lose this. They're not developing as an artist. Yeah. One, and they're not good at this thing. So it's like, they're not having success over here either. And then they get really frustrated and then they fucking kill themselves. Yeah. I mean, that, like, honestly, like that, I mean, we see it so much. Constantly. You know, they give up on their dreams. They fucking, you know what I mean? It's like, and I wish I could tell all of them, like, it's not that, like, just keep doing the thing you're good at and you will get noticed. And when you get noticed, those people will hire a team to go do this part of it for you.
Yeah. To do all the things that you're not good at. Yeah. I'm definitely never going to be allowed on my Twitter probably, but that's fine. It's probably for the best for all of us.
But I mean, but honestly, because I used to be so scared to step away from social media and just actually work on the thing. Yeah. And like the minute I actually did that, it was like within a few months, it was so fucking rapid. Like how quickly I was noticed for being good at what I'm fucking good at, which is writing. You know what I mean? Like I was toiling away at writing for a few months of just steady output before someone noticed and like plucked me out of obscurity and threw me into like this massive situation. You know what I mean? And it was like, because I was finally actually doing the thing I was always talking about on social media.
Yeah. Instead of just being on social media, talking about the thing that you want to do
and giving away the thing for free. Yeah. You know, and the person that noticed me did not notice my social media.
Which is strange because a lot of people like on certain applications and stuff, it'd be like, how many followers do you have? Yeah. Are you verified? And so a lot of people look at that and be like, oh, fuck, I do have to be good at this. Like I have to be good at the branding. I have to get verified or get a bunch of fake followers and stuff like that.
But that to me is always a sign that like whatever is you're applying to is using you, not helping you.
Yeah. And that's the opposite thing. Well, that's unfortunately what a lot of jobs are. And it's like, oh, you can we'll take all of your ideas and stuff.
Yeah, we'll take all your traffic.
Pay you for them. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was like the person that found me found an article that I had written 6 years ago. Nice. And thought I had written it yesterday, basically, and found me. Yeah. So like what I would like the person found me from something like actual output I was doing, not a tweet. How funny my Twitter was, you know what I mean? Like
not an Instagram post or. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that like we've really been groomed to think that this stuff matters. And it's
And
like,
it
it doesn't.
really doesn't. Like I've always said that I want to be rich enough to where I don't have to pay for stuff, and I want to be famous enough to where I don't need social media.
I mean, I want to be rich enough that like I actually have a shower with water pressure.
Your shower,
Like that's
yeah, no, your shower does suck, girl.
like, I'm like a shower with water pressure. Like, but no, I mean, my whole thing is like I have a private Snapchat that's like literally like 5 people that I've had since like childhood. It's like the only place I've been able to like talk about what I'm doing because they've all been like signed a blood oath.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing I kept saying on there was just like, I can't wait to retire. And I can't wait to do this so that I don't have to be on social media, because like once I didn't need it to promote stuff. And then once I took a break from it, because I was working on this project.
Your life is so much better. Oh my God. Even the little breaks that I take. It's
I
great.
just realized how shitty it was with the social media. Cause I was like, oh wait, like I just wasn't on there and then I realized like with like the private Snap I had with like the 5 people on it, that like I use it kind of like a diary, but like knowing that it's not actually going anywhere. And it's really just a group chat.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to worry about if someone's on an iPhone or an Android.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, and it's kind of like, they can look at it if they want to or not. Right. So it's like, it's kind of just like a group chat where people can opt in and opt out when they feel like it. But like, I realized like, oh, it's not that I want attention. It's a place where I can literally just talk to the people that I know, like that I know are interested and like aren't going to tell anybody what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually able to use it to be social. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and oh, hold on.
You're having tech issues too.
Yeah, no, my phone is like, because it got unplugged.
But we have to get out of here anyway. So finish up what you're gonna say.
Huh?
I said you could finish up what you were gonna say though.
But just that, like, what I realized was that I didn't necessarily want attention. I just wanted the attention of my friends.
Yeah.
And like having the private Snap that was just like the few stragglers that had been there that have just always had Snap. And like, we're like, I was like, I guess this default group of like 5 people have become like the people.
Your Twitter or whatever. Like
and it's like, and that's where I was like able to kind of just like, I realized that like I didn't need everyone's attention. I just wanted a place I could talk to my friends. And
some of the group chats that I have are great. I have like a timer on my phone. You know, I'm allowed like 2 hours a day for all social media. So like posting, and then once that little timer comes up, I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. It sucks though, because sometimes I will like shut off when I'm actually promoting shit. I'm like, God damn it. Counterproductive. But speaking of social media, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Sovereign Syre on Twitter, at Sovereign_Syre on Instagram. I don't really exist anywhere else, and I barely exist on those places.
Yeah.
Basically, you can find me moving in silence.
There we go. That's my girl.
Sovereignsyre.net has like all my stuff. So yeah, if you don't have my number or my email,
sorry.
Can you reach me? No, you can't.
I'm going to start selling it on eBay. I'm just kidding. I love you. All right, everybody. You can find me, the Alia Janine on Twitter, Alia, I think it's .Janine on Instagram, AliaJanine.com for all my wonderful shows. And don't forget about this wonderful podcast, How to Do Drugs. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the places where podcasts are, most of them. Please rate and subscribe as well. Okay, bye.
Bye.